During my 7 years at a large church in South Florida, we had a saying when it came to volunteers: close the back door. We all know that we need more volunteers in kids ministries, but maybe the issue isn't just getting new people, but about caring for and retaining your current team. That's what we're talking about in today's episode of the KidzMatter Podcast.
Hey there, and welcome to the KidzMatter Podcast, your go-to resource for all things children's ministry. Each week, we bring you fresh ideas, inspiring stories, and practical insights to help you lead, love, and serve kids like never before. Whether you're just getting started or you're a seasoned pro, we're glad you're here. Let's get started.
My name is Hannah Augustine, and recruiting and retaining volunteers is one of my favorite topics. And today, you'll get to experience a sneak peek of one of our KidzMatter PRO coaching calls, featuring 3 of our KidMin Academy students. Their insight on caring for volunteers is going to add value to you as you develop your team. And if you need more resources like this, you can get a free trial of KidzMatter Pro at kidzmatter.com/pro. Now, before we dive in, are you looking for a playful way to help toddlers and preschoolers engage with the Bible? Endlessly fun and filled with surprises, the Seek and Find Bible series combines interactive learning with simple, faithful Bible teaching. Each page invites kids to search and spot hidden objects, from grumpy Pharisees and hungry lions to bright glowworms and colorful toucans. Delight kids as they seek and find their way through the Old and New Testaments, discovering meaningful truths about Jesus along the way. And coming this October, the complete Seek and Find Bible Story book, featuring 38 classic Bible stories and over 2,000 hidden objects to find. So fun. You can use the code KidzMatter at thegoodbook.com and get 30% off your Seek and Find collection today. And that code is valid until July 31st. So go check that out at thegoodbook.com. Now, you are going to love today's episode with Dave, Rose, and Christi. So let's get started. Well, welcome. If you are joining today for the KidzMatter PRO April live coaching call, we're super excited to have you. And if you're catching the recording later, this one is tying into our module this month on retaining volunteers. Last month, we spent a lot of time with Tim Price and Ryan talking about recruiting volunteers. But really, if you're constantly recruiting and your back door, as we used to say at our church, is open, that means maybe everybody you're recruiting is staying 3-6 months and then walking out the back door. You can never recruit enough to make up for that. So we've got to start looking at this from the angle of retaining. And that's why I have 3 of my favorite people on here. We've got some KidMin Academy students. And if you don't know what KidMin Academy is, talk to me about it. We would love to have you in the program. But they're in month 5, I guess, right? Wrapping up month number 5. That's almost halfway. I'm not ready for that. But they have been doing great, hanging in and just being a part of everything that's going on. And they actually got to learn from Jessica Beeler, who was our master class teacher this month. She was our professor or faculty member for the January module, which was all about volunteers. So if you have loved the content this month in Pro, the content last month in Pro, that was like a small section of what we talked about in Academy. So we'd love to have you join us for that. But really, the goal of this call is Christi, Rose, and Dave, they are all volunteering in their church. And so they are clearly, as people who are, serving at a high level, wanting to invest and continue to grow through something like Academy. They're the type of volunteers that we want to have, right? Who stick and stay and love what they do. And so I thought, what a great idea to just hear from them. What has helped them stay the course? What has helped them stay involved in their ministry so that you can kind of take that and translate it to your teams, whether you're working full-time, part-time, multi-vocational, juggling all the things. Hopefully some of these things are going to help you with that. Starting with you, Christi, tell us about your family, your church size, what you do at the church. Tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Hi, I'm Christi. I am from Effingham, Illinois. Our church is a multi-campus church. We have 2 campuses. We offer 4 services each week. So we do 1 on Thursday and 3 on Sunday at the main campus, and then 2 on Sunday at our other campus. And all of those have kids programming. Over at Easter weekend, we had 170 kids. So that was a record. So that was amazing. I am married. I have 1 son and 2 stepsons, and I am a proud grandma to 5. 4 boys and 1 girl. My role with CC Kids is to I help with the curriculum guides for our Sunday services, and then I serve as host whenever I'm needed. I also step in when teachers are out, and I assist with planning special events. My favorite part about serving is being flexible and being able to support wherever I'm needed. Sometimes the best role is just simply being available.
Everybody watching said amen, because we all need volunteers who are willing to just be available and go wherever needed. All right, Dave, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Dave. I've been married to my wife for 17 years. I have 2 kids. I serve at Calvary Baptist Church in Texas. I do the Wednesday night service, and we service from 4-year-olds all the way up to 5th grade on Wednesday nights. And then Sunday mornings, I am the 4th and 5th grade preteen age life group leader. We've been serving here at the church for going on 16 years. I serve in all capacities, whatever needed, I fill in when we need to. We probably run on Sunday about 65 to 70 kids. And then on Wednesdays is about half of that's about 30, 35.
That tracks. That Wednesday is always a little smaller. And that's amazing that you've been serving almost as long as you've been married. That's just such a great legacy for you guys, right? So, hey, we've always been serving. And that's definitely what I know many of you, again, watching are looking for is how do we have someone like Dave and his amazing wife who are willing to serve for 16 years? Like that is huge longevity. That is so beautiful. And Dave, I know you have even been a huge fighter for this preteen ministry that you've really tried to advocate. Like we've got to reach these kids, at this age, and that you have that passion, which is so cool. Miss Rose, last but not least, tell us a little bit about yourself and your church.
Yeah, so my name is Rose. I have been married to my husband for 10 years, named Tyler. We have 2 beautiful boys, Liam and Levi. They're 8, about to be 8, and 3. I worked full time at a pharmacy for 13 of those years. And I am the full time we have 2, but I'm one of the ministry leaders at my campus. I'm a part of a 5 campus network in Muncie, Indiana. We have at my specific campus about an average of 160 people on a Sunday, and about 30 to 40 of those are kids or in preschool to elementary aged. Um, I do pretty much what Christi said. I do a lot of the lesson plannings, the preparing, the event planning. I do agree on both of them. The biggest thing is being available wherever, whenever, to just jump in and just say, here I am. Sometimes I'm checking, sometimes I'm in the nursery, sometimes you're running both places.
I love it. What was your motivation to start serving in the first place? Why did you join the KidzMin team at your church?
For me, it started from the pulpit. They were preaching about taking our next step. And what was your next step? And I kept feeling a nudge, but I didn't quite know what was right for me, and so I'd start to think about it and then life would move on. And then it was like, okay, yeah, no next step needed now. But of course, God is still working. And my mother actually gave me a plaque that had Jeremiah 29:11 on it. It just clicked for me that I needed to trust God and he was going to tell me where I needed to be. And it wasn't shortly long after that when I got asked to help NCC kids. And I was like, well, why shouldn't I trust you to tell me where I need to be? Right. But, God doesn't always give us the full plan.
Right.
A lot of times we just have to take that step and then he's going to guide us. He's going to open the door. God opened the door. And I stopped waiting and just said yes. And it's all history from there.
Amen to that. And again, everyone listening is like, that is the dream story. You ask and they say yes. But sometimes that's all people need. People are waiting for someone to ask them and help answer the prayer of God, what do you want me to do? Where do you want my gifts to be? So thank you. That's awesome, Christi. Dave, what about you? What got you serving 16 years ago and got you involved?
I started serving in the church before that, but 16 years ago was the kids ministry part of it. This question, I love it because I had to stop and actually think and remember, why did I start serving? What motivated me to jump into kids ministry? And sometimes in the busyness, we forget why was the reason that you started in it, or it kind of gets blurry, or you kind of, on the days you want to give up, this is a good reminder of why you did that. My motivation was I was walking down our hallways many, many years ago, and I was looking in the classrooms, and this has nothing to do with age or the people in there or anything like that. But when I looked in there, a lot of the classroom had older teachers, which there's nothing wrong with that. Um, but it was missing the fun. It was missing the excitement. It was missing the passion. And the rooms are very dark. It felt like school. When I looked in there was no connection. And I'm like, there is something missing here. That's all I did for a while. I was like, there's something missing. Something needs to happen there, and God started nudging, like, hey, you should go serve there. Like, no, that's not me. Because before that, my wife and I, we served in the youth. So we were with the teenagers, little kids are like, not my cup of tea, really. And this was before we had kids too. So I'm like,
Like, I really don't
I'm gonna
know
hang,
what's going on. Yeah.
right? I don't know what's happening. I'm just gonna, go hang with these cool kids over here. um, but the Lord just kept pressing on me, pressing on my heart, like, you need to serve, you need to serve. You need to, you know, how He says, I show you need, I expect you to feel it. I don't want somebody else to feel it.
Yeah. Come on.
Somebody didn't ask me. It was God that was asking me, like, hey, you need to
Come
serve
on.
there. And then that's when I approached at the time our director over kids ministry and offered how can I serve, and they plugged me into the second and third grade. My wife and I started serving there together as the teachers there, and then from there, God has just grown me and continued that passion, that fire in me to continue on in kids ministry.
So good. That second and third grade age is my favorite personally. But tapping into that, like, you guys have people that may be feeling some of these things. And when you have someone like Dave, like Christy, and we'll have Rose share next, but when you have someone that has this passion and this desire to see transformation, the last thing you want, the last thing I want, the last thing the Lord wants is for us to not steward that, or for us, and I don't like the word like abuse that, maybe overuse that, or for us to maybe not care for that, because when we see someone like Dave or Christy or Rose, we get so excited, and it's so easy to put everything on them and ask everything from them and not pour back into them, which is what we're talking about today. So when you have a heart like someone like Dave or Christy or Rose, you want to care for that and tend that well. Miss Rose, what about you? Tell us why you started serving in kids.
Well, I grew up in the church, and so I've always been serving till since they let me serve. And I probably was around 12 when I actually started. And I graduated high school, and I was like, I am done, and I am never going back in kids ministry again. Right? That was like I was like one of those small churches that was like, here you go, have fun. And I was like, what is happening? I was like 17, no idea what to do. So I left, and my husband and I just took the time to be us and, to where does God want us? And we started this new church plant, and I was like, I will do kids check-in and nothing else. Like, I was pregnant. I was like, we already had a kid. I was like, no, that's it. And then went to the nursery, and I was like, I'll stay in the nursery till he's old enough, and then I'll leave. And then, like, I just felt more and more like events we would go to, and more of like, well, why aren't we doing this or that? And then that's when Wednesday night came up, and they were like, would you be willing to, I was on maternity leave. They're like, would you be willing to leave this ministry? And I was like, oh, a night away from my kids? I was like, well, I could do it. And then the more like that passion and that fire developed more. And then um into my role of just I was just an assistant, and then Wednesday night I led it. They needed something else, and I felt the Holy Spirit say, like, I need two of you, and I need you guys to. So like I brought it to our pastor, and I haven't looked back since then. Like, every time I feel I'm not ready or equipped, he's right there. So it's nice.
Oh, that's beautiful. And that's another picture, right, of what these three have in common is this desire and the motivation to make something better and to
Mhm.
step in and say, hey, I see a need. I want to fill the need. And I see a gap and I want to help with the gap. And I know I've felt it now, having been in kids ministry for 10 years, you can't not see it. Like, you can't turn that off. You walk in somewhere and you're like, oh wait, oh, they need signage here, or yeah, they need, yeah, let me help you over here. Let me pick up those toys, or did you clean your toys? Things like that that
Yeah.
you just don't turn off in your brain. And that's a beautiful thing. And but when you're working full time as a pharmacist and you're taking care of grandkids and you have kids of your own at home, like, we want to make sure that we're helping protect and helping care for the people who are serving with us who have capacities like this. Christy, I'd love to hear from you. What is one way or multiple ways that you feel most cared for by your leadership, by the KidMin director or your pastor that you're working with?
So honestly, a simple thank you really is what works for me. But more than that, it is trusting me, giving me more responsibility. I know that sounds it sounds terrible, but giving me more responsibility. The thank you is good, but trusting me goes a lot further, getting me involved, asking my opinions, keeping me informed on what's happening, letting that just means a lot. When I'm in the know, I feel like I'm invested. The trust creates involvement, creates investment. And so that is really what it is for me.
That's a formula right there. Trust creates involvement, creates investment. So you need to patent that, Christy, and that'll be your leadership teaching. But it's true. When we feel like someone trusts us and wants to let us run with something, and sure, yes, give us the resources, give us the support. But when you're a high capacity leader, you want to be able to have leeway and freedom to do what you see, the vision you see for the ministry. And that requires trust. It requires the opportunity, like you said, even more information. I had an incredible lady, Christine, and she served with me as my volunteer kind of admin. Like I said, I want to treat you like staff. Like I'm not organized. I need help. And so I made sure she had a laptop she could use when she was at the church. And she had a phone number with like we had like church numbers, whatever. So she didn't have to give everybody her cell phone. And she came to staff meetings, and because I wanted her to feel like you are just as valuable as anybody that's getting paid. And you have the same input and insight and information that's going to give you the opportunity to lead. And when I did that, it freed me up, but it freed her. And now she's working at a school, and we talked about it on the podcast, but it built her skills and abilities, and it was a win-win for both of us. So it opened new doors for her, but it blessed me in so many amazing ways.
Our leader, she does a fantastic job of really finding what people's strengths are and then using them. And you can just see it throughout our children's ministry, just different people. Like there's one lady, she is organized, so organized. When it's time for organization, we call on her. She just does a fantastic job of utilizing our strengths for God's kingdom. And it's incredible.
And even speaking of investment, all three of you, were added to KidMin Academy because of the conference. And so there was already investment. And that, something like Academy or even the conference is a financial training investment. And when you see a leader like these three on here, don't hesitate to invest in them. Even if that's a book, even, it doesn't have to be something as big as a big program, but figuring out, could we do a Bible study once a month or a leadership study together? Could I buy them a book once a month that we go through together to show, again, that commitment to you as a person, you as an individual? Like, I want to help you grow, and I want to help increase the gifts you have, right? So, and maybe even weaknesses, like how can I help you grow in your weaknesses? Not just to help me on my team, but also just to develop you as a person. So good.
Really, it's just simple by, giving you words of encouragement, sending simple text messages. Also, just checking in personally. How are you doing as a human being? How are you doing spiritually? All things aside, church-wise, where are you at with your walk? And then just remembering the simple details of your personal life. I know a giant church, it's going to be hard to try to remember everybody's details, but if you had 5 to 10 of them that you just kind of know, you kind of do life with, and they understand where you are, it goes a long ways. It doesn't always have to be about church at church. Taking it outside of church is even better. I mean, that's where your investment actually starts in your volunteers, is right there. But also having them understand that life does get busy and it does get messy. And if you need to call in one night, that it's okay. We'll get it covered. Try to give us a heads up as soon as you can, not just the last 5 minutes before class starts, but just having them understand, life does happen. So that's some of the best ways that I've seen that they show that they care. And when your leader or director serves along beside you, they get down in the trenches with you and serve side by side. That's when they're like, okay, they're just not pointing fingers telling what everybody else to do, but they're getting down there with you and serving. That's a big one right there for me.
That is so good. So many great points there. I know for me, some of the best times of investment have been when it's been dinner at someone's house or dinner at a restaurant, or, it's outside of the walls of the church. And that is a beautiful way to invest in someone. And I get that you can't, like you said, you can't maybe do that for your whole team. I even think of our academy students. We've got 155 students right now, and April and I are trying to figure out how can we care better, because there's just so many. We feel like we can't keep a good pulse on everybody. And that's where you've got to raise people up. And our pastor at the church would say, love equally, invest selectively. And that means we love everybody the same, but there's some people who we want to invest in even more. And then those people can invest in more people, and we're multiplying that, and not just limiting it to, I think the stats are we can only maintain, what is it, like 60 relationships? I think it's not a lot. So if you're working with, and 60 even is a lot.
That's a lot for me.
If you're working with 150 people, there's no way. And then you've got the families and the kids, and you can't maintain all of that successfully. Love equally, invest selectively, and be intentional. And serve alongside. Dave, I think that was such a great point. And all of those things really do go a long way. Miss Rose, what about you?
I think they stole all my ideas. I think they looked at my notes because so it'll be a lot of repeat. I think a lot of it is I had more written down of more days, but like that personable is how I take it. I'm hearing like just the affirmations of that you're doing a good job, because sometimes your pastors, I don't have a kids director above me, so like it's always my pastor or his admin. They're so busy on a Sunday to get through it. So coming into the church throughout once a week just to have that connection and for them to like ask me about my personal life and then remember it and be like, how is this going? It just means more than just a attaboy on, you did a great job this Sunday. So those things I take to heart, and the more they appreciate me and show that, the more I want to appreciate my volunteers. And then it just is overflowing in our ministry of constant appreciation. One thing our pastor does is every Sunday, he does a prayer meeting like 10 minutes before service starts. And he does shout outs now. So like 2 to 3 people, like what is something good we can observe from someone's life and that has been so fulfillment for me, but then for me to be able to speak to other people that I don't always get to serve with or minister with. And the more it goes, the more it's the domino effect. And I love how I'm able to use that gift for them, because some people just want gifts or money, which are nice, but that more personable connection is what I think links us all together, and you're going to want to be with them more.
And that creates a culture. Like you said, it's that domino effect where now everybody has that atmosphere of, I'm going to comment on this. I'm going to encourage someone with this. And like you said, I don't think it has to be this huge financial thing. Now, it's great. Can you do like a fun event for your volunteers once a year? Awesome. Can you, maybe have some fun merch that you give to them? Fine. But we were in our academy unit on volunteers, and I had so many people were asking, what's a budget friendly way to care for my volunteers? And there are so many great hacks, and work with other kids pastors in your area. Go on the KidMin community. There's so many great ideas. But honestly, I think more than any, little pack of candy, which again, great. But I would rather, instead of spending 2 hours working on putting together those packs of candy, like go to coffee with someone or pick up the phone and spread that out over time. You, as the leader, as a volunteer on the team, your time and energy is more valuable than any financial resource, I believe, because most people who have chosen to serve did it because they love the ministry, but they also likely have respect and care for you, and you mean a lot to them. So when you take the time to pick up the phone or send the text or come by their classroom or, hey, can we get coffee? Or even if it's a group thing, I would lead a small group virtually for anybody who wanted to join. Then that's multiplying, because now there's 6 people on this call and I can invest in all of them. And it's not the same as one-on-one, but not only am I investing, they're now able to connect outside of that time and invest in each other. So get creative and be relational, not just in a culture where no one needs more stuff. No one needs more things. Focus on the intangibles, the time and the energy and the care. What are some of the things as you're serving in a high capacity while doing a lot of other things? What keeps you coming back, even when you have so much else going on, Christi?
Well, obviously, 100% it's the kids. Being able to see them week to week, them being excited to see me, watching them grow. It reminds me of like a dandelion, how it gets that fur and then you blow it and then it goes out wild. Well, that's the kids. They're all out there wild. But then that settles. And pretty soon well, we may not like the dandelions. Pretty soon it starts to grow. And watching that faith and those light bulbs come on, the kid who's rolling around on the ground and you ask somebody to tell you what the 10 commandments are, and he's the first one to raise his hand and say, I know them all. Let me tell you. And you're like, oh, you were paying attention. And that's so amazing. But it's just a humbling experience that God is using me to invest in them and watching what they can do. It's just amazing what God did with my simple yes. And it just keeps me coming back for more.
That is so powerful. And if you're hearing that, again, listening to this, that means you need to make sure that your team is connecting those dots, because sometimes people, if you're serving with some of these younger kids, or in the nursery, they may not see a faith seed grow, but you can be telling them, look at what's happening in the 5-year-old room, in the elementary room. And those kids used to be babies. So if you're rocking the babies, those babies are one day going to feel safe enough in church to be in the elementary room where they can raise their hand like these other 6 kids did. And I think creating that connection so that every volunteer, even if they're, waving with the stickers at the door, they know, because I waved with the stickers at the door, the kids who came in here felt safe and comfortable, so that when they got to their classrooms, they were ready to learn and engage. And if I hadn't been here at the door with my stickers, or if I hadn't rocked the baby, or if I wasn't standing for security at the door, maybe those kids would not have felt like they were ready to encounter and have that relationship with their peers and with their teachers. So your job, as the leader of the ministry, as someone who's helping make an impact, is to help your volunteers connect those dots. Dave, what about you? What keeps you coming back?
Can I just say ditto?
Yes, that's perfect.
That's exactly my first point too. The kids, obviously the kids. That's what keeps me coming back. But like she was explaining with the dandelion and the growth, just seeing the growth in each of the kids that you come back, and then when you build those relationships with those kids, and you come on Wednesdays or Sundays or Thursdays, whenever you come to church, and they see you, like, hey, Mr. Dave, look at this. Or, hey, Mr. Dave, I did this, this, and this in school today, or whatnot. And that excitement, and they want to share life with you. You're like, okay, this is worth it right here, because I'm building a relationship. I'm building the next generation. I'm building God's kingdom with these kiddos, but also realizing that, these kids are the next generation, and the world is grabbing at them every way they can, through social media, through movies, through how to dress and what to wear, and all sorts of things. And God's given me the passion to love on those kids and teach them the word, and have them hear the word, and that teach them that God wants a relationship with him. And that's the desire that he has. And so that's what keeps me coming back. But also, this one here is being part of a team that works towards the same goal. When you can work with a group of people that have the same mindset, the same vision, the same goal, it is beautiful to work with them. It's easy to get along with. Even on the days when you just want to give up, throw in the towel, or tap out, each of us remind each other, like, hey, this is why we do what we do. This is why we serve. We may not see the fruits at the moment, but we're planting that seed, and allowing that to germinate, and letting God do the rest of it. He's using you and your talents that you've given to invest in that kid, watching that grow, just knowing that has been planted, and eventually that's going to make an internal impact on those kids. You may not see it now, you may see it in youth or wherever on, and when they become adults, they're going to remember when they were 5, 8 years old, the impact that we had on them. That's why I keep coming back. And plus the preteens, I just like being weird with them. They're kind of like my own age range,
You fit right in. You just feel comfortable.
I fit right in. Yeah. I tell my wife all the time, I'm going to go to my class where I fit in. Y'all are weird in here.
That's so true, though, about the teams. And think of how many people that you guys on this call, and then anybody listening, that don't feel a part of anything. Maybe they don't have a strong family unit. I'm remote, like at work. Obviously, I love the KidzMatter team, but I'm primarily alone, So when I get to do something and be a part of a group, that is so encouraging, and that is so uplifting to feel a part of something. So having those opportunities for people to serve alongside each other, to get together for pizza. Wednesday nights, we used to do what we called like family dinner. And before Wednesday nights, we had someone who would volunteer, and they'd make a crock pot meal and bring it. It wasn't long, 15, 30 minutes. But we sat around and we talked and we ate and we prayed before everything started. And even that Wednesday night crew was so knitted together because of the time they had relationally. So don't underestimate that team impact. Miss Rose, bring it home with this one.
The kids. Uh, so just to top it off, if you guys didn't get it, the kids are what keep us coming back. I do agree with everything Christy and David said, and twofold is though, they motivate me to be a better Christian, to be better for God, to want to research more. When they ask me a question and I'm like, that is not a right now question, but I would love to find it out an answer for you. You know, I get to go dive into his word and go to the pastor and be like, I never thought of this way. Or the kids might have a different idea. Of, didn't you think it was this? And then you get to have those conversations with them. So being able to watch that light in their eyes just spark, and just at my 8-year-old's at that point of, we're in Job and he's asking all the questions. And it's just amazing to get to watch what God gets to do. I loved what Sean Sweet said about planting seeds. Like, they're not going to grow for years, and we may never see these kids again, or they may never connect it back to us. But it's so important to what we're doing in this ministry for these kids that motivate us, that we can't let that stop us from reaching our full potential because of doubt or the weight of the world or what's going on in our current lives. So it's those kids make that motivation possible sometimes, and that's just what keeps me going.
I know we have all sat in a kid's lesson and been convicted or stretched, or I remember doing a series on patience, and it was like every week I was editing the curriculum for it. And as I'm editing, it's like, man, and then it got around to where we taught it a little bit later. Like, yeah, here I am again. So we've all been
Amen.
there where the
Right.
Holy Spirit is using that to shape us.
Yes.
Sometimes we learn the most in the kids' environments. Last two questions. If you could say anything to our listeners, who most of them are leading volunteers, many of them are either leading the team, or keep in mind, if you're listening and you may not have the title of being the one leading, but you are a leader, therefore your actions, your choices are impacting the other people in the ministry. So even from that lens, people who are leading volunteers and hoping to keep them on their team long term, what would you tell them, Christy?
Draw your volunteers in. Don't keep them at arm's length. You want to pull them in and just invest with them. Communicate regularly. Let them know what's going on. Make them realize that they're a part of something bigger. When people don't feel like they're being used, they don't stay where they don't feel valued. So, like, really just making them feel like they're a part of everything that's going on. Give them opportunities to grow. We're in KidMin Academy. I wouldn't be in KidMin Academy if I didn't go to the KidMin conference. And I felt a conviction there, to really give up another part of my life and really invest in children's ministry. So giving them opportunities to grow, helping them evolve and understand the needs of the different children, making them know that they're not just there to fill a spot, that they are there to help the kids and help you further God's kingdom. I think that's just really important.
So good. Mr. Dave.
Yeah, just going on the heels of Christy there. Invest into your volunteers, not just in their roles, not just the position that they're filling, but invest in them with training through personal life. Get to know them on a personal level, but also be intentional about building your relationships. You know, be genuine about it. Get to know them. Obviously, like I said, outside of church, outside of ministry. And then a big one here, allow your volunteers to have input when you're coming up a new curriculum or a new event, have them throw in their ideas in there. That way it also gives them a piece of ownership in the area that they're serving. Like, they own part of that event or they own part of that curriculum. So they feel part of it. Be flexible. Life does happen. So especially when you have kids or sporting events going on. When volunteers feel valued, they're equipped and connected, they're much more likely to stay for the long haul.
That is so good. That's another one. You could patent that. All right, Rose, your turn. Bring this question home.
The biggest thing that you can do is to be present. There's always going to be the next Christmas sing, the next VBS, the next lesson to plan, the next booger to wipe in nurseries. But be present with your leaders and your volunteers. Get to know them on a personal level. Pray with them. Pray over them each week. It means so much more when you are investing that way. To then they're gonna have God. You have God on your side, so they're coming to invest with you in your team. One of the things I do is I have ADHD, so I have to keep myself multiple ways, but I have calendar reminders of what they tell me, what they need prayer on, things that I can go back and look on, and that really helps me invest into them that way. Setting text reminders to text them, and then using their strengths, like Dave said. I learned this in KidMin Academy. I can't remember which one quoted it. If someone can do it at 60%, give it away in your ministry. Give them guardrails, give them stipulations of, what to stay into. But with that, you have to give them grace. And then most importantly, give yourself grace. Because if you don't, then you're just going to end up as a ball of energy that doesn't want anyone to help you do anything because it's never going to be the way you want it done. So that's what I would do, is be present and give them grace and give it away.
Glad you mentioned even the calendar reminders. I think sometimes we want to feel organic. And so we
Mhm.
feel bad if we're like, oh, I used my phone to remember that. You, again, like we said earlier, you can't retain all of that. Oh my word. How many times have we walked out of the room to go get something and you're like, what was I going to get? Like, if we can do that in our house, how am I supposed to remember, Cindy, Bobby, Susie's prayer requests? Like, but when I'll walk away from a conversation or sometimes even in the conversation, I'm going to write this down because I want to make sure
Hmm.
I can come back to it. I don't think anyone's going to be offended by that. Like, they're actually going to appreciate, oh, they cared enough about what I was saying to write it down. Or I'll walk away and say, remind me on, Thursday at 7 a.m. that so and so has a surgery or a job interview. And then you send that text. That means the world, right? And this is where if your church has a CRM, a customer relations database or management system, whatever that stands for, planning center, any of that, you can make notes in there and you can come back and reference it and you can come back and double check. Oh, I know so and so. Or if you have a larger staff, you can make notes in those. So maybe Rose
Mhm.
talked with someone about something but didn't get a chance to tell me. I can go have a look and be like, oh yeah, Rose made a note. She called them after they were in the hospital. That's so great. Um, use those tools. Don't be afraid to leverage technology. As we wrap up, shameless plug for KidMin Academy. Y'all have mentioned it a couple times, a couple quotes and a couple things. Rose, what would you say? How have you benefited from KidMin Academy in your role, in your life? Tell us about it.
Um, I've benefited tremendously from it. I've learned more about myself with it, about how to give myself the grace I just said you need to do, I don't do. So definitely the module, the personal module, leadership module was a big one for me that I really took a lot from to give myself the grace I need. I've used at least two or three things that they've wanted us to implement, and I still regularly do it in my ministry. And last night, one of my leaders, he said, you just are just showing us up. And I said, and I had the KidMin Academy shirt on last night. I was like, no, it's this, like watching and being with other volunteers, other staff, other leaders who I get to pull ideas from. I know I've used some of Christi's ideas for our volunteer appreciation gifts. I've pulled some of Dave's tricks for preteens. Like, it's just being able to pull from people who know more about than I know. I feel like God put me here for a reason, and I just get to love and grow and learn more with them, and it's just been an amazing experience so far.
Amen. Love it. Dave, what about you?
Yeah. It's given me the tools and resources to grow as a volunteer and a leader. It's taught me how to build systems and what systems I was missing. It's changed my mindset on how to lead other people, because I'm a volunteer myself, but I've got four other volunteers underneath me uh, that serve alongside me on Wednesday nights. So it's taught me how to communicate better, how to appreciate them better, um, and see them as not just a person that's filling a role, but as a genuine volunteer. I was able to, use some of those skills that we learned, appreciating your volunteers. Well, I got to implement that on the four that are underneath me as well, and also take that to our kids director. And now, with that, she wants me to put together a whole volunteer system. So I'm like,
Oh,
oh, okay. and
watch
and
out.
that's something we've been working on together.
So good. Christy, what you got?
Being a part of KidsMin Academy has just been it's been so helpful, mainly because you don't know what you don't know. And
Fair.
KidMin Academy kind of fills in those gaps. And There's just so much knowledge. Like every week, I'm like, can I take any more notes? Holy cow, how am I going to implement all this stuff? How can I get this going? Right? It's mind blowing, Um, and and the people that are talking to us each month, these are people that have been doing this and have invested so much of their time and energy, and they're pouring it out into us. And that is just, it's incredible. Like it just fills you up every week, and it's powerful. The other thing that I have to say is that it has just helped me realize that kids ministry is more than just teaching a kid a lesson.
Mm.
There are volunteers, there's budgets, there's recruiting, there's time management, worship. And I got to tell you, if you're watching this and you're someone who leads the kids ministry and you lead all of these volunteers, bravo. And I am humbled at how much you have to do in order to keep investing in God's children. And it just, it warms my heart. And I am so grateful for KidMin Academy that I can know how to reach these kids a little bit easier. So that's what I got.
Well, that's beautiful, Christy. You're right. It is so much. And I think people think kids ministry and it's, oh, so you watch the kids? No, 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 no. It is a full church in there because you're doing worship and slides and games and security and check-in and cleaning. And so yes, you are absolutely right. It is so much more than maybe it appears to be. And that's our heart. It's why most of you, you're in pro, some of you are part of Academy and Pro, and you're wanting to learn and grow. So we hope that this conversation has been helpful. The heart is that all of these resources are adding value. So just know our heart at Kids Matter is to equip and empower you as the KidMin leader, whether you're a full-time, part-time volunteer, multi-vocational, all of the things. We're here and we're in your corner. We hope that you enjoyed this episode and the sneak peek of our KidzMatter Pro coaching call. Dave, Christy, and Rose really had so much great insight to share. I loved this conversation with them. Again, if you'd like more resources like KidMin Academy or KidzMatter Pro, I would love to chat with you. You can visit our website at kidsmatter.com/pro or kidminacademy.com, or you can email me through support@kidsmatter.com. We would love to see how we can help you continue to grow and develop as a kids ministry leader. Now, don't forget, you can get your copies of the Seek and Find Bible series at thegoodbook.com with the code KidsMatter, and that's going to give you 30% off between now and July 31st. Have a great week. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.